afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. Today I felt like coming in with a very special video about my own experience with the Kundalini awakening. And it's a really powerful, vulnerable, courageous, scary, it's kind of all spectrum energy kind of video or expression that I'm going to go through. But I felt that has been alive because I'm feeling as if a lot of people are actually expressing right now another way of Kundalini awakening. I'm aware that in 2020 there was a huge wave of spontaneous Kundalini awakening that happened, or around the time where I had mine, which was by the end of 2018. There was a huge wave of awakening back then, and I feel like another one's coming up right now. So that field of Kundalini is rising up again. So I felt like sharing my experience with all of you that I don't know if I have done in that much depth. I may have shared in a couple of videos, but yeah, we're gonna go wild, we're gonna go intense, we're gonna go mystical, magical. So yeah, let's do it. But I want to start by sharing that, saying that you're not alone. So if you're going through this, please know you're not alone. I would have wished to have the support back then, that having the guidance of someone just guiding me through the process, but I didn't have it. So know that you're not alone. If you need it, you can reach out to me. I'm so passionate. I absolutely love this process. And after I went through it, I understood why I had to go through it the way that I did. And I completely understand that I'm here to guide other people that go through it. So please know that you can reach out to me. Okay, so now let's go into it. And I want to try to sum it up so that it's not such a long video. But it's one of the most, if not the most difficult journey or experience that I had to go through in my entire life, like just psychically, psychologically, physically, spiritually. It's intense. And what I'm talking about here, guys, is spontaneous Kundalini activation, because actually Kundalini activation can happen in an extended way. And when I speak of Kundalini, also I speak of the light body. So it's really that activation of a huge, massive upgrade, basically, in your own awakening, in your own consciousness, psychically, in your psychic powers, in your energy body. So it can be happening in extended ways. But the one that I'm talking about is the spontaneous one, because the spontaneous Kundalini awakening, especially the ones that you did not see coming and you're not prepared for, can really leave you feeling out of balance and can really be challenging. And so I want to start by sharing that Kundalini awakening is this absolute activation of the magical, mystical world. Like, it's an outwardly experience, but also it's a very physical experience. And I feel that this is where it's required to actually bridge both, and the grounding aspect of it. And that is why reaching out for support to be able to ground is very important. But also that's the purpose of the videos, hopefully, is to bring a bit of grounding or validation to that experience. But it's a huge activation of like psychic powers. And as I was saying, like going now like full mystical and magical with my share and my experience. That was my experience. And I know that a lot of people that go through, and maybe some of you listening to this, it's like, boom. It's a massive psychic activation of superpowers and magical gifts that we have. And so, yeah, where are we going to start? Just from a day to another, all of these activations are happening, and that's what I'm saying. It's like overwhelming. It's like, what the heck is going on? What happened? What's happening? But basically, your light body, that's what I'm saying, the light body just completely activates. So you are accessing more light information from the usual light spectrum that we have. And so your pineal gland activates, and the pineal gland releases DMT, basically. It releases the spirit molecule, the spirit, yeah, just it releases the crystals inside your brain that allow you to have access to more information, to the higher realms, to the higher dimensions. And so what happens is that your body is accessing this higher frequency, and it's able to connect to the quantum field um, on its own. Oh my God. And here I am again explaining it. I'm like, okay, go back to sharing my experience. Okay. Because I've done a lot of explanation in my previous videos, but I get, because this is it. It's like I did not know what was happening to me. I did not get the guidance. And so I received the blueprint. And so it's only natural for me to go into like, I gotta explain. I want you to know what's really going on and what's happening and know you're not alone. Oh my God. Okay, go back to me, my experience. So I could not sleep properly. And my process lasted like, so I had it end of 2018. And that intense, chaotic process lasted for like 3-4 months. Everything was all over the place. Sounds like silence was no longer silence. Silence was now filled with tunes and frequencies and buzz. And it was just like when you're about to go to sleep or if you're alone, and there was no longer silence. It was just tunes and frequencies, which was in the beginning really I could not understand like what are those tunes. And then as I started breaking it down, it was like different cosmic tunes and cosmic frequencies that were connected to the journey, the healing journey, or that process that I had to go through. Because again, what I'm saying is that what happens is that it was activating those different waves of healing and spontaneous healing. And the only way out was just to literally just through, and it's to surrender, because it feels like you have literally no control over your body. The spiritual process, the Kundalini energy is completely moving through you, and it's activating you, it's awakening you, and it's doing its thing, and it's activating you and healing you and awakening you. So it's taking you into journeys spontaneously. So it felt like randomly I would just get overwhelmed and filled with that light body activation, with that wave of light codes that would just push me into a healing journey where I had to face either a specific trauma from childhood or a specific energy clearing that I had to do in another dimension, or something even in the womb. Like once I went through, I had a like it was those spontaneous regressions. That's it. It was those spontaneous, like if you had like a regression therapy, it was just those spontaneous regressions where I had to go through different areas, different dimensions, different places. So it was like this energy work, and that's when it started. So if there was silence, I would hear those cosmic tunes, and those cosmic tunes were different depending on the journey that I had to go through. And most of it, of course, in the beginning was not all light, and it was not all, like by light what I mean, it's not really light, like I shouldn't use it because everything is light. Like light is what also brings the shadow out. But it was not all fluffy and like magical and like mystical realms and like beautiful and peaceful. It was a lot of shadow work. It was a lot of trauma work. It was a lot of darkness. And that's why I say it's like it's not an easy process, because everything you thought that you weren't even aware of, those densities that you had inside of your cells. It's like a huge cellular cleanse. And because of the cellular cleanse, it's also working on the physical body. And so food was even too much. Like food completely changed. Like I went through a couple of months of not being able to eat. But as I'm saying this, it's not like I was not eating at all or like fasting like for 3 months. No, like not that much. But it was, like, for example, specific cooked foods or like solid food I couldn't have, because I could feel the amount of processing that my stomach had to go through when I would eat it. And the way that I could describe it is because I had to process a lot of light data. I had to process a lot of emotions. I had to process a lot of trauma. So eating like dense food or dense meals, or, and as I'm saying dense, it's like I already had a super healthy diet. So, everything is like, I had a vegan diet, and um, like no deep fried food. Like everything was already healthy. But even just like a soup, or like something that was cooked, that was hard coded. That's how it felt like. It was hard coded. And like rice or things that like required a lot of energy to break down the food was just making it worse for me. So I had to sometimes not eat, like fast. And sometimes I would feel like, no, I need to eat in order to like ground. But when I would eat, it was like maybe like juices or fruits or very light food or very specific plain food. Like even if I were to have rice, it would just be rice. Nothing like super alchemical. And that's the thing, like I'm going to break it down here. I have to go through that like, explanation, because everything becomes alchemical. And that's what I'm saying. It's an alchemical process where you're just going through those deep energy work sessions where you're alchemizing things. And so then putting food or external codes in your own body that are also very alchemical was too much. So going back to simplicity, and that was a big process that now I'm voicing that out. Everything needed to go back to simplicity, simplifying things like so much. So same with visuals. Like I was literally just darkness. Like if you close your eyes and you just see black, like that was not possible anymore. It was all colors and codes and frequencies. But then even sometimes it was just going on journeys. Like your literally your pineal gland, your third eye is just, it was super activated. And so I was constantly just seeing things and seeing visions and having journeys when I close my eyes. But again, as I'm saying, it's not like it's a 24-hour thing because I'm describing it. It is intense, so it comes in waves. But if there was no waves, if I just close my eyes, you're in tune, you're seeing the unseeable. You're accessing those energetic realms around you on a completely different level. And then also I was very sensitive to light. Like that was very visible. Like I could not be in the sun for long. It would be very intense for my pineal gland. Like I felt like, I'm not going to go into the explanation here, but I just needed to cover my eyes and needed a lot of being in dark spaces to calm, to be able to go within. And that's kind of the same process that we speak of, like the snake, when when it's shedding its skin, it's just being inward. And it's that same process. I just really needed to be inward. I didn't want external stimulus or external stimuli. I just really needed to be with myself and inward. And yeah, my vision was no longer the same since that process, since that journey. I see colors in a completely different way. Everything is much more vivid. Going into the mystical here, mystical things, everything is alive, everything is vibrant. The textures are very much more visible. Literally, it's like DMT being activated. The mountains, everything is alive. So even the mountains would shapeshift. And it depends again then when I would have like a wave coming up. And I sometimes, like the very first time that happened, it was the second day, and I wasn't, as I'm saying, I wasn't aware of this process going on. So I was like driving, and that was really like, that really freaked me. And that's when I understood, like, okay, I'm going through a process that I need to be in reverence with, and I need to honor and take seriously and be careful about, you know? And I remember I was driving, and the entire road just, like, I had a regression while I was driving. And I regressed to a childhood moment. And so everything turned like childhood visuals or feeling. Um, and so these are some kind of the experiences that I would have. But I knew that I was regressing to a memory, and I was like, oh God, like, no. And I was like, spirit, like, this is not the right time. I am driving, and like, there's no way I could do, like, I cannot surrender right now. I'm driving, like, I'm in the middle of nowhere, like, I cannot do this. But I just kept feeling this feeling that I was protected, and I just had to trust is big. But my vision was completely activated. I was seeing people's shadows, entities around people. All of that got activated. It's not, I was able to see these things before, when I was in a meditative state, or if I'm working, if I'm doing, you know, specific energy work, or like in the ceremonial sweat lodges and things like that. But this one was like, no, like full on, all the time, like all the time. So it was really overwhelming. I felt there was no room for me to just breathe and relax, like just stop it, like just, it was a lot. It was a lot on the nervous system, and it was a lot to process. Like, oh, okay, like I'm seeing people's darknesses and people's entities and people's shadows. And that got, the reason why I was seeing that is because then I got activated with my energy work and my energy healing. So then I was like, okay, all right, so I'm seeing this because this is part of the mission, so I'm supposed to do something about it. But yeah, everything was just vivid. Again, as I'm saying, like, even nature was no longer, wouldn't even be able to be outside, because even being outside was alive, was too alive. Everything was alive. Literally everything was alive. Like, the mountains were shape-shifting. I could see, like, even the spirit of the mountains just starting to talk and communicate. And the plants, the flowers, they were all alive and talking and communicating. So sometimes it's just like, guys, can you, all of you can just give me a break? I just need to be with myself in silence. And that was very challenging. So it completely opened me up. It activated my psychic powers. But then that is the process where it starts, you're feeling energy on a completely another level. So sometimes when I would be in specific situations, I would feel energy was overwhelming. So I would go into like that panic attack or that anxiety, but all is uncontrolled. Like, it's not like you had a thought that led you to that panic attack. Like, there's nothing. You're just there, and all of a sudden, that huge energy of like the activation, that Kundalini, that awakening, that just, your nervous system is like, it's just rising, and you're filled with that intense energy where everything is vibrating. And then you go through that anxiety attack because you're not able to navigate it. But going down the line, I started understanding that what was happening, I was picking up on the energy of that place, that situation, that person that I was around. And I just did not know it in the beginning because it's a lot of translation. It's a lot of breaking down. So yeah, it was a lot in the beginning to make sense of. And that's why in the beginning, in the very beginning, it's like all of that information and you're not able to process it. You think you're going crazy. You think you're losing it. You think you're like it can be quite traumatic in the beginning. It can be very traumatic. It's like, what's going on? Like, I feel like I'm alone. Nobody's able to understand what I'm going through. It's just all a lot of information. I'm not able to navigate it. I think I'm going crazy. Why am I seeing all that I'm seeing? Why is it not stopping? Like, all these thoughts definitely came across my head. And I did share in my previous video that for me, it was very important not to feed those thoughts, not to go into labeling myself or putting myself in specific psychological boxes, knowing that I'm going through a huge psychological shift and change. But I knew that it was spiritual. I knew it was energetic. I knew it was outwardly. I knew that it was not just to be labeled down in a box. And so, oh God, it's just, there's just so much to this. And yeah, sleep also was all over the place. Like sometimes I would sleep during the day. Like I just needed to sleep a lot during the day because at night, at times I would just wake up from immense energy work. Like I would constantly leave my body. I wouldn't really say leave my body. I would constantly travel into other astral realms in my sleep. It was um it was all more than lucid dreaming. Like it was all your journeying, and I was having a lot of healing happen to me in my sleep. So even sleep was it felt like my body was not able to rest because I was not able to get this restful sleep where you can just completely sleep it off. Like even sleep was work. Even sleep was activating and like traveling into other dimensions, into other spaces to heal and do energy work. And so, as I'm saying, that lasted for like 3-4 months. And after that, it started to become like I started adapting, like, this is my new vision. Things are not going to look the same. Um, I'm seeing the energy world now in my vision. Colors now, I got to adjust. Like, this is how colors are going to look like. This is how everything's going to look like. This is how people are going to look like. But then with time, I started regulating, like choosing, um, choosing what to see, really, choosing when to see it, choosing. I was able to literally tune in, like, okay, now now I want to go full on, or now I don't. But sometimes there are things that I cannot unsee. Like now, what I see is what I see. Um, and in the beginning, also, what was really helpful for me was just I was downloading just everything that was happening to me. So I was writing everything down, breaking down the process, the upgrade that I was going through, the understanding. And I had it all written in notes. Like I would just download, like Spirit would just give me those sentences that were like kind of mantras. Not that I use mantras, but they were those sentences that were like reminders for me, that were grounding, they were pillars of truth. They were grounding me into that multidimensional experience or travel that I was going through, to be able to center myself and say, okay, so like I'm traveling, right? I'm traveling, I'm experiencing those different dimensions, but not to lose sense of that grounding, because otherwise, as I'm saying, you can go into your head and you can mentalize it. You're like, okay, something's wrong with me. Yeah, I'm going crazy. I'm losing it. So that was very important to ground me, right? And that's why I love to provide that support so that you're not losing it. It's a spiritual process. In the beginning, when I would look at myself in the mirror, there was no sense of identity. Like I could not tell who I was, but there was a sense of a new light emerging from my eyes. And like I would look into my eyes, I would just see a spirit, like just see a soul. But even that soul, like that level of soul expression, was nothing I've ever experienced before or identified with. Right? Identity is identifying. So I was not able to identify with anything internally within myself on the outside. It was just all like, what is that rebirth? Like it was a completely new rebirth. And that was freaky, the unknown, that you're looking into something that is void, that is an unknown, that you're not able to identify with. It's like a complete deleting. Like there was something that just, a massive ego death, but it was beyond that. It was like a deletion, like something just got deleted. And you're looking into nothingness, but at the same time into this very powerful, strong essence energy. And other times, if I was going through a big cleanse, a shadow work, when I would look into the mirror, I would see that shadow. I would see that cleanse going. Like I would see that energy that I'm literally just, shedding. And that was the gift that I was saying, is that then I'm able to see that in other people. And that's when I activated the quantum energy technology that I use now for my energy work with other people. Like I completely received the blueprint back then because of what I was experiencing. Like those spontaneous energy work waves or experiences that I was getting, journeys, was giving me the blueprints of how to become the space holder or the guide to share it with other people. So when I'm working with other people, this is what I'm really using. I'm using that exact journey that I went through, which was, from darkness to the light, from going through the trauma to then the integration of that trauma. Like all of these things that we're going through ended up creating that energy work technology I was going through. And same with what I was saying, like how to navigate the shadow, how to bring the shadow to the light, entities, how to understand the purpose of entities, why you have those attachment, those entities, why they're coming from, but even how to release them, how to rewrite the contract. It was literally the quantum field. That's why I call it the quantum energy technology, because it's literally the quantum field. So it's a very multidimensional realm. And you're able to do everything, like whether regress, so get into a regression, or go back to a traumatic moment and integrate it, or if it's another dimension, if it's another lifetime, receive information from spirit, from higher intelligence. All of that goes into the umbrella of the energy work. And I want to say I was not able to do anymore any sort of spiritual tool. Nothing. Like I could not take part of any spiritual activity anymore. It was too much. Like my process was spiritual enough, was like awakening enough. Like I could not even do yoga, like not even do breath work, anything, meditation. Like that was a meditation. Like I could not do a specific type of guided meditation. Like that was impossible. Yeah, anything, even temazcals, like sweat lodge, I couldn't run them anymore. I used to hold space for temazcals. Like I was temazcalera and running them, and I just couldn't do that anymore. Even any sort of like plant medicines, like that was out of the way. Nothing. That was it. That was it and enough for me. So what else did I want to share as well? Yeah, so even not being able to find comfort in anybody around anymore. Like nothing was familiar anymore. Nothing. Like sense of safety or attachments. I think that's what it is. Attachment to things. Or even people, like my husband. Like I could not feel, I did not feel that same way anymore, in the sense of like that comfort, like, oh, like that. Of course, it was always that, like that comfort for me, like it's the person that I love, the person that I called home, even my home, my family. Like it was just, no, like even that was like, nobody could give me anything anymore. I could not get anything from the outside. Nothing. Everything needed to be internally generated. And I explained this in my very first video that I did. And in that video, I actually published it recently, but I filmed it right during my awakening process. And you could sense the difference of the energy because I was downloading everything in that video. And I'm so glad that I did. And in that video, I explain why you're not able to outsource anymore and you're only able to resource within you and get sources literally from within you. Yeah, everything is internally sourced. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here because I can go forever. But if you have any sort of questions, or if this was of any support, please let me know in the comments below. I'm also going to collect questions to respond to. So if you have any questions, I'll probably do a video about. And yeah, let me know if you need any sort of help or support or guidance. Please reach out. Remember, you're not alone. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. This would really help me continue do those videos, and it will help support my channel. Okay, much love.